Imagine waking up one morning to the news that your daughter has disappeared. No trace, no note, no phone call to explain. And then, a few months later, police discover a black trash bag dumped by the roadside, inside revealing part of a human body. A week later, more bags appear, containing the rest of the body in a wooded area. Even more horrifying, after 4 years of comparing dental records, police confirm it is your 21-year-old daughter, Melissa Wolfenbarger. And the man accused, nearly 30 years later, is the very one she once called her husband. This is not crime fiction. This is the truth in Georgia, a cold-blooded murder that has haunted more than 2 decades. Melissa was born in 1977, raised in a turbulent family. At just 15, she became pregnant by Christopher Wolfenbarger, a relationship that started far too early and carried enormous risk. They quickly married, entering into wedlock before either was ready. But instead of being a source of support, the marriage turned into a trap of control, jealousy, and abuse. Norma Patton, Melissa's mother, recalled the times her daughter returned home with a swollen face and visible bruises. Melissa, like so many young women in her situation, tried to excuse her husband. He didn't mean it. But deep down, everyone knew she was trapped in a dangerous relationship. In November 1998, just after Thanksgiving, Melissa vanished. Her family couldn't reach her. No one knew where she had gone. Christopher, instead of contacting police, stayed silent. He never filed a missing persons report, never searched for his wife. The only one frantically searching was Norma. In the months that followed, she reported her daughter's disappearance to police several times, but it was not until January 2000 that an official missing person report was finally filed. From that moment, Melissa's name was on record, but the trail had already gone cold. On April 29, 1999, a pedestrian walking along Avon Avenue in Atlanta discovered a black trash bag. When it was opened, police were horrified. Inside was a human head. In early June that same year, police dogs located more trash bags in nearby woods containing the torso, arms, and legs of the same victim, badly decomposed. The case shocked the public, and the press called it one of Atlanta's most gruesome discoveries at the time. Yet the victim's identity remained a mystery. Forensic experts worked tirelessly, but DNA technology at the time was limited, unable to deliver quick results. All they could do was preserve the evidence, take photographs, and compare dental records. It was not until 2003, after repeated comparisons, that they confirmed the remains belonged to Melissa Wolfenbarger. The family received the news in utter devastation. Norma collapsed when police confirmed the match. For years, she had clung to the fragile hope that her daughter might still be alive somewhere, that one day Melissa would call home. But it all crumbled. Her daughter had long been dead, murdered brutally, and discarded like garbage. The bitter truth was that even after the identity was confirmed, the case made no progress. No witnesses, no cameras, no DNA match. Police suspected Christopher because of his suspicious silence, but lacked evidence. When questioned, Christopher only said, "She left." That empty explanation was enough to leave the case frozen. Melissa left behind young children. They grew up never knowing exactly what had happened to their mother, hearing only fragments from their grandmother. For Norma, the pain never eased. She kept every photo, every document, telling her grandchildren that their mother was once a strong, loving woman stolen from life far too soon. One factor made the case even more haunting. Melissa's biological father, Carl Patton, was a notorious serial killer known as the Flint River Killer. During the investigation into Carl, old forensic files were reviewed, and it was then that Melissa's remains were finally identified in 2003. A cruel irony. The shadow of a father's crimes indirectly brought his daughter's body to light. Still, justice remained silent for more than 20 years. Melissa was laid to rest, but the question, "Who killed my daughter?" hung in the air. Norma never stopped sending letters, making calls, reminding police not to forget Melissa. She told anyone who would listen that Christopher was the one responsible, but she was just a lone mother. Until science changed everything. The tissue samples and physical evidence from 1999 had been preserved in police storage. When next-generation DNA technology was applied, they were tested again. And the results were undeniable. The evidence matched Christopher Wolfenbarger. After nearly 30 years, the suspect was finally brought into the light, about to face the justice he had evaded for too long.
25 years have passed since the day Melissa disappeared. The case seemed destined to remain in silence forever. Her family still lit candles on each anniversary, still placed her photo on the table in remembrance, but they had nearly lost all hope for justice. Then a door finally opened, the rapid advancement of forensic science. Evidence collected from the 1999 crime scene, tissue samples, biological traces on trash bags, even blood-stained fibers had all been preserved by the Fulton County Police. At that time, DNA technology lacked the capacity for comprehensive analysis. In 2023, when Georgia investigators decided to review old cold cases, they submitted all the evidence from Melissa's case for testing with next-generation DNA technology. The results were groundbreaking. The biological traces matched Christopher Wolfenbarger, the husband Melissa's family had suspected since 1998. This was no longer just the lonely cries of Norma Patton, the victim's mother. It was undeniable scientific data. In March 2024, Fulton County Police arrested Christopher. News spread quickly across Georgia. After nearly 3 decades, Melissa's husband was finally charged with her murder. Images of Christopher in an orange prison jumpsuit, hands cuffed, appeared on nightly news broadcasts. Headlines screamed, "27-year cold case solved by DNA," and "Husband accused of dismembering young wife in 1998 faces trial." The trial opened in Fulton County in August 2025 and is still ongoing. The courtroom is packed with reporters, television crews, members of the public, and, most importantly, the victim's family. After almost 30 years of waiting, they finally sat face-to-face with the man accused of taking Melissa's life. Prosecutor Vincent Fawcett began with a firm declaration. "This is a case that has spanned more than a quarter century, but the truth never disappears. We will show the jury that it was Christopher Wolfenbarger who murdered his wife, dismembered her, and discarded her remains like garbage." The defense countered by arguing that Melissa may have left voluntarily, that Christopher believed his wife had walked away to start a new life and therefore did not report her missing. They also questioned the reliability of DNA samples preserved for more than 20 years. Their arguments aimed to sow doubt, though prosecutors insisted that modern forensic procedures eliminate the chance of error. The most powerful testimony came from Norma Patton herself. The gray-haired mother, eyes red with grief, took the stand. She recounted her daughter's life, meeting Christopher as a high school girl, becoming pregnant before she was of age, then marrying too quickly. From then on, Melissa endured a violent marriage, returning home many times with a bruised face. Norma's voice cracked. "I was the one who went to the police. He stayed silent. A husband who loves his wife never stays silent." The courtroom fell silent. The words of a mother who had carried her pain for 27 years moved many. Norma also described the years she spent raising Melissa's children, taking on her daughter's responsibilities while hiding from them the horrifying truth that her mother had been murdered. The case became even more haunting because of Melissa's family background. She was the daughter of Carl Patton, the notorious Flint River killer in Georgia. During the investigation into Carl, forensic records were re-examined, and through that process, Melissa's remains were finally identified in 2003. A cruel irony. Her fate was bound to 2 men. One, a murderous father. The other, a husband now accused of killing his wife. The prosecutors presented the evidence step by step. The DNA test results from the 1999 tissue samples, Christopher's suspicious behavior, and the inconsistencies in his statements over the years. They argued this was a classic case of spousal murder born out of domestic violence. Meanwhile, the defense repeatedly stressed the delays in the investigation, claiming the physical evidence had aged over time. But to the public, the DNA results stood as the most devastating blow to Christopher's defense. The trial is only in its early stages, but it has already shaken all of Georgia. Painful memories have resurfaced for both the family and the community. People understand now that this is more than just a murder case. It is proof of a mother's relentless persistence and of the message that justice may be delayed, but it never disappears.
The trial of Christopher Wolfenbarger has not yet reached its conclusion, but from the very first days it has become a major event in American media. Evening news broadcasts continually update images from the Fulton County courtroom. Legal reporters analyze every detail, every piece of testimony. On social media, people debate fiercely. Some express outrage at the cruelty Melissa endured. Others share sympathy for Norma, the mother who has lived nearly 3 decades with only one goal: to seek justice for her daughter. In the public eye, this case has come to symbolize delayed justice. Melissa was murdered at the end of 1998, her dismembered body discovered in mid-1999, her identity confirmed only in 2003. Yet it was not until 2024 that her husband was arrested, and not until 2025 that he finally stood trial. Nearly 30 years is far too long for a family to live in anguish. The case exposes the systemic delays in many American cold cases. Evidence exists, but without technology, without priority, without determination, thousands of families are left waiting in despair. What haunts the public most is the cruel irony of Melissa's fate. She was the daughter of Carl Flint River killer Patton, one of Georgia's most notorious serial murderers. Her father killed many, leaving behind a horrifying stain on the family name. Yet Melissa herself died at the hands of someone else, the man who was supposed to be her safest refuge, her husband. Many newspapers have written that Melissa's life was trapped between 2 violent male figures, a murderous father and a husband accused of killing his wife. That destiny became a painful paradox, making her death all the more heartbreaking. In the courtroom, Norma Patton remains the central figure. She is old now, but her eyes still burn with fire when she speaks of her daughter. The press has described her as a silent warrior, the woman who never let the case be forgotten. For 27 years she persisted, calling, writing letters, demanding police reopen the file. It was thanks to that persistence, combined with advances in DNA technology, that the case was finally solved. If not for Norma's perseverance, Melissa Wolfenbarger's name might have remained among the victims without justice, one Court TV reporter observed. But Norma represents more than just her own daughter. Her story reflects tens of thousands of other families across America, people who lost children, wives, or husbands in unsolved murders. They live in waiting, in helplessness before the system. For them, Melissa's case is a glimmer of hope, that no matter how many years pass, justice can still find its way back. From a social perspective, this case also sounds an alarm about domestic violence. Melissa died at just 21, after years in a marriage marked by control and abuse. Norma recounted the bruises on her daughter's body, but Melissa never dared to leave completely. She believed love could change her husband, or was too afraid to step away. This reality mirrors a widespread crisis. Statistics show that 1 in 4 women in the United States has experienced violence from a partner. Melissa's case is not just a legal file, but a reminder that every bruise, every silence may be the sign of a tragedy waiting to happen. Forensically, the case also proves the value of preserving evidence long-term. The trash bags containing Melissa's remains, collected in 1999 and stored for nearly 30 years, ultimately provided the DNA that modern technology could analyze. This is a lesson for law enforcement nationwide. No case is ever truly dead if the evidence is preserved. A cold case may grow cold, but it never loses its chance at revival. For the Georgia community, the trial of Christopher Wolfenbarger represents a cleansing of collective memory. For years, locals have remembered the horrifying scene from 1999, a human head discarded in a trash bag, decomposing body parts in the woods. That nightmare is now confronted with the suspect on trial. It feels like a circle has closed, that justice, though delayed, has finally arrived. During the trial, people saw Norma sitting in the gallery, holding tightly to the hands of Melissa's children, her grandchildren. They are grown now, but their childhood was filled with unanswered questions. Where is our mother? Why didn't she come back? Now they sit quietly, listening to each accusation, each piece of DNA evidence, as if to finally find answers after so many years. That image has moved the American public deeply. When the prosecutor concluded his presentation, he said a short sentence: "No case ever truly disappears. Justice is only waiting for its moment to return." That line was widely quoted by the media, becoming the defining message of the trial. It applies not only to Melissa's case, but to all the unfinished files sitting in evidence lockers across America. The trial is still ongoing. Christopher Wolfenbarger has not yet received a final verdict, but the public already considers his presence in court a victory. For the family, especially Norma, it is the moment she has waited for nearly 30 years. "My daughter is finally being heard," she said through tears. For her, the outcome matters less than the fact that Melissa is no longer forgotten. This case will be recorded in American criminal history as one of the most notable cold cases solved by DNA. But beyond the legal sphere, it is a story of maternal love, of perseverance, of the tragedy faced by women trapped in the cycle of domestic violence. And above all, it is proof that justice may come late, but when it comes, it can illuminate even the darkest corners thought to be buried forever. If this story touched you, leave a comment below to share your thoughts. What do you think about a case that dragged on for nearly 30 years? Do you believe delayed justice can still bring meaning to a victim's family? Every comment helps ensure that Melissa's story is not forgotten. Don't forget to hit like so more people can learn about this case, and subscribe to the channel to follow detailed coverage of other spousal martyr cases shaking America. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story, for behind every case are lessons and truths we cannot ignore.